I go back and I say it couldn't be. It could be that difficult. It could be the other side of it. At least there's still opportunities and things coming at you, and you have blessings that you can look at in front of you, versus being a dad looking and saying, how am I going to put the next meal on the table? So the hard work that comes with the growth, bring that on. Let's go.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Modern Man. We know it's been a while, so let's go ahead and call this season 2. We're so excited and thankful to be hosted by Woodhouse Spa off of Woodruff Road here in Greenville, South Carolina. We're excited for today's episode. Our panelists today, we only have one, Charles Russ, usual suspect, and I'm excited to introduce our guest for today, Lazaro Montoto, or just Laz, right?
That's definitely Laz works.
Owner of Tropical Grill, Tipsy Taco, and continuing to grow and get even bigger. Laz, it's awesome to have you on the episode today.
Pleasure to be here, definitely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we kind of discussed a little bit before we jumped into the episode about vision. And I came up with vision when thinking of you because I know your story a little bit on building the franchise you have now and everything, with not just Tropical Grill, but the growth that continues to happen in your life. Really quick, for some of the viewers who might not have been introduced to your wonderful restaurants, introduce them, talk about your journey a little bit, and I'd like to unpack the vision on how that came about.
Yeah, definitely. Tropical Grill, we started about 10 years ago, almost 11 at this point. It's a fast casual Cuban flavored concept where we try to emphasize on the healthier side of things. When we say our healthy alternative, which is what our slogan is, we're talking about comparatively to other fast food restaurants. We're going to get you in and out fast at a reasonable price point, and we're going to give you something that you're going to feel good about eating when you're done.
Nice. Which you do a great job at, because Charles and I, when I first moved here, we used to eat Tropical Grill after our workouts, and we'd always feel good. Your first location opened, was it 2007?
2010.
2010. Okay. So here we are in 2020. What has that journey been like? Was this the vision you had from the start, or?
It's been an incredible journey. I mean, I can't tell you that I had this all visioned out. I don't think I ever had it planned this much. I think my goal going into this entire thing, as far as the restaurants, was looking for a little bit of freedom, looking for the opportunity to spend a little more time with my family, with my kids, not missing, New Year's, Mother's Day, all the things that I'd missed so many years in the restaurant business. I've been in the restaurant business since I was 14 years old. So in the restaurant business, you don't have that time.
What were you doing before?
I started off as a dishwasher at 14 years old in a little hotel in Coconut Grove, Florida, Mutiny Hotel. Started there and took a liking to the kitchen, and I started back there just learning a little bit from a great chef. Fell in love with the kitchen, started cooking, and eventually, I went out to a zone that I wasn't so comfortable, which was, the people side of things, the front of house, working a little bit as a waiter, and kind of getting outside of my comfort zone, getting comfortable around people. So it's something that I really needed at the time, just to push myself outside that box.
Yeah.
But once I got out there and got comfortable around people, I realized that was my passion. My passion was people. I love being around people. I love serving people, getting to know people, different people every day. It's somebody new, that you get to meet and interact with. And I fell in love with that part of the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome, man. As you're going through the journey, I love the fact that you mentioned wanting to spend more time with family, right? Because I'm under the belief in the theology where I think a lot of what I do as a man is going to be for my family, right? However, what good is all the work I put in if I'm not there to enjoy the time with my family? Because, when kids are in the picture, when my wife is with the kids and everything, they want dad. Oh, yeah. They might like the house, they might like the things and everything that come with dad working so hard, but they want dad. I guess, how did that first come about? Was that something you always had in mind, or were you first thinking career and then family?
It was definitely family first. I'd already done the career part. When I moved to Greenville, I left behind a career. I was starting to grow real nice with a company. I was for a fine dining steakhouse. I was working. I became a manager there, and I was on the right career path. But the long nights, the early mornings, like I said, New Year's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those were a given. You were going to be working. I remember year after year just, finding a place to hide while they counted down New Year's, the countdown. Go hide somewhere and call my wife up on the phone, call my kids on the phone, and, just do the countdown with them, tell them I love them. I missed so many years of that when I got into doing business for myself, the goal was always, all right, these are the days that I'm going to be able to spend with my family. I'm not going to miss a school event, because those are things, again, that, when you're working for somebody else, it's part of the deal, and it was my responsibility. I never, resented them for it. I understood it was a business. Yeah. I showed up to work, I did my job, and, but that was the biggest thing that I was looking forward to, is one day getting to be able to do that. And I say one day because it doesn't happen overnight. Initially, if you're going in for it for, time, you're not going to get that initially. That's straight up. I can tell you that right now. Initially, you're going to work harder than you ever worked before in your life. So some people think, I'm going to go work for myself and I'm going to have all this. No. No, not initially. Hopefully, eventually.
Well, I have here's a question for you. So I actually just finished this book. I think, and look, don't quote me. I don't have my phone in front of me. I just did it on Audible. I think it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry from Your Life. It's a religious book. You'd love it. Actually, man, I'll post it when you post the episode. But it's a great book, and it's about making time. It's about we don't take time for the Sabbath and all this stuff, and how we need to get away from our phones, get away from this, and pull away. It's like the opposite of what the hustle culture that we've kind of come ingrained in. So, but between that and what as I listen to that book, and between that and exactly what you just said, it's like you're missing this, you're missing that. You don't get these times. But starting a franchise, doing all these new things that you're doing, you're gonna miss some time. Oh, yeah. Because it might not be those specific days, but there's time that has to be spent to grind, to build that framework, to build a structure where guys are talking to me about maybe doing another gym, and I'm like, But when you have that framework that you've built, that is built correctly, and you can literally take it, stick it in somewhere else, and repeat the process. But what's that fine line? Because one of the guys that I spend a lot of time with, we talk about that. The fine line of you want to spend time with your kids and be available for them, but I also want them to see, for lack of a better term, I want them to see my grind.
For sure.
I want them to know that Dad can do this, but realize Dad does this. Oh, yeah. Where do you draw that line? How do you see that play out? Like what the time with family versus I'm embedding in my kids this work ethic that I've created.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when I use the word time, when I say I want to spend more time, I think you got to go to quality of time, right? So you talk about the holidays, you talk about the important days in your life, making sure that you're able to be there for those, but understanding that for the most part, due to the grind that we're in, the amount of effort that it takes to do what we do, we're going to be out there hustling a lot. We're going to be working, hours that some people are not comfortable with, but you have the flexibility as a business owner to say, all right, this day, non-negotiable, this one's for my kids. It's whether it be a graduation, whether it be a birthday, you get to plan those out and schedule it on your time versus, being on somebody else's time. So quality of time is really what the benefit is. Yeah, quality. The quality, because you're gonna work, as a business owner. There's something I tell people all the time. If you're not prepared to never clock out, don't go into business for yourself. I have not clocked out in over 10 years. My phone rings, I pick it up. If there's a message on Facebook from a customer, I'm there. I still personally handle my Facebook for that reason. I want to stay in contact with my customers. I know they'll get to a point where I might not be able to do it, but I'll always be there in some respect. I'm going to be there making sure my people are good. These are the people that afford me my way of life. So, if you want to do a life that you can check out of work-wise, then entrepreneurship is probably not for you.
Yeah. I love the fact that you mentioned that, though, not clocking out, because a lot of people with ambition and wanting to go in business for themselves, and even if for the men watching, if they're thinking, hey, I want to spend more time with my family, I want to go in for business, and they say, why? For freedom of time. Freedom of time is good, but that doesn't relinquish you from the responsibility of the business. Yeah. And a lot of times if you're at home, whether it's, I'm sure as a business owner, you're probably a professional firefighter. You're putting out fires every single day. So that phone rings, it's like,
Listen, you're a firefighter, you're a psychologist. I mean, that's just some of the hats that you wear. And that's another thing going into businesses. You know, I got into business because I love people. I love cooking. You know, I love the restaurant industry as a whole. But as you start to build a business, you start to wear hats that you never knew you were going to wear. So, you know, a guy like me starting from zero, grinding out, like all of us do, you know, I would challenge people to think about what that looks like 10 years down the road, because at some point or another, you might wear a hat that you don't like wearing, you know? And if you don't have the financial means to put somebody in that place, you're wearing it. You're wearing it one way or another, you're wearing that hat, you know? And you got to get through that transition period and eventually hire, you know, a CFO. You know, I don't like math. I don't like that part of the business, you know? So in the beginning, my wife and I had to tackle all that. And when I brought in a CFO, you know, this guy's like, how did you guys do all this? I said, I don't know. We just got by, but yeah, here, have it.
This is why I'm calling you.
Figure it out.
Why don't you get a job, baby?
Fix this mess. Yeah.
I want to kind of like, so talking about the vision, because I think it's so important for men to understand that you highlighted the things you love, which is why you go into business, right? Yeah. But in the process of building that vision, you have to do things that you're not a fan of. You have to do things that you don't like. How do you keep that vision forefront of mind while you're in the grind, while you're in the trenches? How do you kind of keep that motivation pushing forward?
My motivation is going back to day one. I mean, I go back to when we first started this business. We came in with a dream, a passion, and just the way our journey was, the way our walk was, you know, before we ever, you know, got to see the fruits of our labor, man, we came down to the bottom. I mean, we almost lost it all. It's just the way God wrote the story. You know, we went in there, we thought we were prepared. Something else happened on the other side where we ended up unemployed for the first time in my life. I have a wife that just gave birth to a you know, little boy. We had 2 little girls that depend on us. I'm unemployed. I have a business that already the lease is signed for. I mean, it's go time. And now my resources are dwindling. So for me, looking back and remembering, you know, that Christmas, that specific Christmas when my little girls came up to me and said, hey, you know, what are we getting? They're all excited. You know, I don't see much under the tree, but hey, Daddy, what are you getting us? And just looking at them and saying, you know, this year we don't have nothing for you. I mean, to be real honest with you, I don't have nothing. But also, you know, seeing their heart in the matter and them being understanding and holding us up in that time, you know, was amazing. It's something that I would never do any other way. If I can, you know, if I had an opportunity to take that away completely, I wouldn't, because that's my motivation. I can always go back to that feeling as a dad, a guy that's always worked 3 jobs with no problem just to make sure that my kids had enough. And, you know, I can always go back to that. And when things get difficult, which there's times where in business things get difficult, you know, I go back and I say, it could be that difficult. It could be the other side of it, you know. At least there's still, you know, opportunities and things coming at you, and you know, you have blessings that you can look at in front of you, versus, you know, being a dad looking and saying, how am I going to put the next meal on the table? So the hard work that comes with the growth, bring that on. Let's go.
But you just gave like an amazing lesson testimonial, which I'd love to hear you reflect more on for the people who are listening. It's all about, and I really stress, it's not just about providing a great life for your kids. It's about teaching them, because wealth is generational, growth is generational, your effect on this world is generational. So you affect the world here, but if you have all 3 of these kids and they can affect, you know, it grows and it can be those things, but you got to teach them. And I feel like the greatest teacher is experience. I mean, on a negative side, I've said a million times to people that I talk to, it takes one person to ruin a generational wealth, a generational passing on of knowledge. Could you just like talk more about how, even now that you are successful, because you've gotten past that point, how you impart that knowledge into your children, and how do you let them see the grind with the growth and the happy times? How do you give that to your children in a way that they understand it? Because from the way it sounds like they understood from that time that you told them, hey buddy, we don't have it right now. Yeah. And I love that through hook or crook, some type of way, you had already imparted that knowledge on your daughters. So I'd love to hear you talk about how you did that for them.
We keep it real. We go back, we show them where we came from. You know, my daughter's 16 right now, and she understands that she has to go out there and put the effort. We're gonna be there. We're gonna help her out throughout, you know, as much as we can. As parents, we want to see her do well, but you got to show effort. You got to go out. You got to work. She's putting in the hours right now. Work. She goes to school. we hold her to accountable to what we did. It wasn't given to us, so it ain't gonna be given to you necessarily. You have to go out, you have to know what a hard day's work is, and show that you understand that, and then we might help you out a little more than within our abilities, of course. But yeah, it's just keeping it real, I would say.
How important is it when a spouse is involved and you're working on this life, this vision, right? Yep. And I mean, from just the story, sounds like you and your wife were kind of like on the same page throughout this whole journey.
Somewhat.
I was gonna say I don't know the details, so you can tell me even
Somewhat,
better.
Right here. Like now, I'm trying to look. I got my little notepad. Trying to steal some secrets, man.
But especially for an ambitious young man who wants to have a great life, that does come with sacrifices at first. How important is that communication and that journey with the spouse, and how important is it unifying those visions?
I mean, it's probably the most important thing, I can tell you that much. Having that unity, having an understanding, being on the same team when it comes to what your vision is and what you want to accomplish. If you're a married man or a married woman, if you and your spouse are not on the same page, it's going to make your journey very, very difficult. There's a lot of guys that I know that want it. They say, what do I need to do? First thing you need to do is talk to your wife, because she won't even let you stay the work past a certain time, So if you really want to do something, you got to understand there's going to be a lot of sacrifice. You got to be able to pick and choose. Are you guys going to be on the same page and not cause, animosity in your home? Are you willing to push that a little bit and say, look, for us to be able to do it and explain it and get through it? For me, the journey itself, the tropical grill journey, moving to Greenville, was a struggle from the standpoint of God told me clearly, I was here for a visit. I had no intentions of leaving Miami. We had great careers going. That's where we're going to build our future. That's where we're going to raise our family. And I came here and sat in a church service, and I tell you, it was like the magnifying glass was on us, the light was on us, and God made it very, very clear to me that we needed to move to Greenville. Out of the blue. I wasn't looking for that message. I didn't want it. I can tell you straight up, I didn't want it. I was happy where I was. I enjoyed my job. I didn't know what I would do. But we're sitting there, and on the 12-hour ride back home, I told my wife, I said, did you feel that? Did you hear that? Did you hear God speak? And she said, nope. 10 hours into the thing, I asked her already a couple of times. I kept pushing. She's like, all right, I heard it, but I'm not moving. We are not moving. I'm not leaving my mom, my dad, my brother. Not happening. So I said, all right. So we, kept talking about it a little bit. And I get home, and not too much time after, I said, I put in my 2-week notice. She's like, are you crazy? I said, listen, we have to do this. Yeah, I told her we have to do this for our kids. We have to. I trust that God is right when he says to move over there. It's for a reason, We need to go. And she, all the worries of everything, of course, what are we going to do? I said, don't worry about that. Well, God's got us, I'm in the restaurant industry. I'll find a job, when I get there the same day. And sure enough, I did. We ended up moving this way, and it was difficult for her, extremely difficult, leaving her parents behind, super close. I mean, for a little while there, honestly, they wouldn't even speak to me for a couple of weeks in the middle of the process, and I understand. I never took it personal, especially with her dad, somebody that I love like a father. I heard him, I was taking his little girl away. So, I can imagine how she felt as a daughter, but it was a very, very difficult thing to do. But here I am. I'm the father. I'm the husband, and I'm trying to guide my family. And she took it. She came in and she jumped on board, and we moved. And then in that process, it wasn't like everything was just perfect. We didn't get here and it was perfect. I mean, I tell you, I've told the story. I don't know if you've heard it, but I was this close to missing, our blessing really. And it was in the middle of that journey when we were going through that, when things got real, real tough. When you're looking at, again, your kids and you don't know where your next meal is gonna come from. That's how bad it was, Unemployed. My credit it fell out. It was gone. I had 2 cars rebuilt from the front of my house. I had a foreclosure in front of my door. I mean, just as a father, as a provider, I was broken. I was ready to wave the right flag. And there was one day where I came to her and I said, listen, I think I made a mistake bringing us here, and we're going back. And that's the first time I saw her faith, and it was rock solid, man. And ever since then, I've been able to see it. That girl looked at me and she said, I don't care if we go under a bridge We'll go together. God brought us here for a reason, and I know that it's not this, and we're gonna see this thing through. And when she told me that, it was over. It was done. I just put my head down and went to work. And, you know, little by little, God just showed us the reason he brought us here, you know.
That was so huge what you just said, because I feel like that was solidifying your why. In that moment, everything was like, there are few things in this world that are more dangerous than a man with a vision and a plan and a clear, determined why. And all those things connected for you in that moment. And you were just off.
Yeah.
Well, I do feel like a lot of guys miss out on something that you've talked about. It's the conversation with your significant other. You know, it's I think we've talked about this a lot with Tim, or just in general. It's, you know, you can come to me, say you come to me for help. Hey, help me, man, I'm trying to figure it out. You know, help me draw a map. Okay, but where are you going? And no one seems to ever know where they're going. So if you're going to lead your family, you're going to take your family from here to there. Where is there? Yeah. And they never establish that. They just go, you know, they're just doing stuff. They're just doing things without literally like a quantified place, a goal, somewhere they want to get to, somewhere they want to take with their family. Did you and your wife kind of have that before you made that move? Because it sounds like you did because of her faith in you. And I really feel like that type of faith is built on you being able to show her, this is what I want for us. Yeah. And are we going to roll there together? Yeah. Did you ever like really have that like deep conversation, like literally like targeted, this is what I want to do and this is where I want to take us? Yeah.
I mean, you know, going back to what I said, you know, I put in my 2-week notice, that almost makes it sound like, you know, I made the decision for us. Now we've been together, I was 16, she was 16, I was, you know, 17, 18 years old, been together 20 years. I know her, like, you know, like the back of my hand, you know, we know each other very, very well. So in the process, even though she was saying no, I knew for a fact that her heart was there, but she had a tough decision to make. So I kind of had to make it for us, but I knew I had her blessing. I knew she was on board. I knew she was ready to do it. So we made the decision as a family to go ahead and take this step, you know, and bring our children, which is really the goal. The goal was, when we talked about it, I said, what's the goal? Man, we just want to raise our kids somewhere where they can go to a good church, you know, and that we can have a little more quality of life. Anybody that's from Miami, it's a hustle and bustle. It's all day you're grinding. It's just too much, you know. So coming to a place where you can just settle down and do a little more family type things, and cost of living. I mean, just so many factors. It just felt good here. We didn't have a home church in Miami. You know, we relied on you know, on TV for our sermons, which was fine, but we wanted somewhere that we can, you know, grow spiritually, for our kids to know God. That was the number one thing. That was number one by far. There was nothing else outside of that was more important. So just raising them in a place where they could, you know, have that. So, and we felt this was the place.
And at the point you moved, was Tropical Grill already in the back? Not Tropical Grill, was a restaurant
for sure
already in your mind? Like, I'm gonna go here and start working, but I'm gonna do my own thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys already had that peg on the wall, like.
Yes.
And was it, so 2 questions. So it was Tropical Grill already kind of in the back of your head, and then the growth of Tropical Grill, like to chain it. Was that something that you're like, well, I want to start something and then I want to chain it? What were your thoughts when you first made that jump?
I had an aunt and uncle. They moved over here a couple years before we did, and you know, she knew I was in the restaurant business. She started her little restaurant down here, and she kept saying, "Move this way. There's opportunities for you to do something with your experience. You know, you're not going to be able to do it down there. The cost of living is too much. Move this way and take a chance." And you know, she convinced me to move this way. If it wasn't for her, definitely I wouldn't be in Greenville. And you know, Tropical Grill at that point hadn't even been thought of. Tropical Grill was thought of. It was you know, my wife was 9 months pregnant, hungry, thinking about, you know, some of the food we grew up eating. And we were driving to down 385. We were going to downtown. I had a day off, and you know, we're gonna go have a little lunch date. And she tells me, she says, "You know what we need down here?" I said, "What's that?" She says, "We need a fast casual, like Cuban, you know, like, you know, just in and out quick." And I looked at her, I said, "Man, listen, you are done. She's like, what do you mean? I said, that is the best idea you've ever had. You will never have another good one again. Just straight up. So, you know, it was just a hungry pregnant girl, you know? Yeah, and you know, then the wheel starts spinning, you know? We get with my mom and my stepfather, people that have been cooking their whole life. My wife's a great cook when it comes to Cuban food. That was not my forte. I never did Cuban food. But I had these people here that knew it. You know, I grew up eating great food at home. And, you know, we all got together, threw the recipes, started creating. And then just little by little, you know, this little mom and pops started growing into something where I'm like, man, we have something here. We have something. I always had the idea when she said that, I knew it would be something that would be scalable. I didn't want to do something that wouldn't be scalable. I could have went into something like a full sit down type deal, but she had something on the fast casual side. You know, the gym situation. When I left the gym in Miami, I would go somewhere like that. It's very similar, in and out, quick. You know, so we needed that. We needed something for the moms that are on the go. You know, for the busy dads that want to eat something healthy. You know, or just a regular guy that's just, you know, trying to work and go to school, or, you know, whatever. Just a quick, simple meal that you feel good about.
Quick
you know?
post-workout meal.
Yeah, something you feel good about. You know, so.
That's amazing.
I love the fact that the idea popped and you run with it. And one of the questions I had when it comes to vision, a lot of times we can be hard-headed when we have like a vision. It's like, I want to do it this way. I want to do it this way. And we even mentioned before how, you know, you have a plan and God says, okay, but we're going to do it this way. Oh, yeah. How important was it for you to adjust with your vision along the way? Because even moving to Greenville not being in the plans, and Tropical Grill when you first came here wasn't being in the plans, and then the scaling, these things tend to like kind of come along almost as if they're planned, yet it's more or less like the door open and you were ready to take that opportunity. How important is it for like the flexibility in that vision, and what did that look like for you? Were there things that you didn't want to change along the way?
Man, honestly, with Tropical Grill, it was just something that it just kind of started to happen. You know, you can come up with a game plan and you can have all your, you know, some people are really good at that. I'm not. They said, this is what I'm going to do. It's all laid out. They have their 10-year business plan, and it's straight up, you know, they hit every target, and, you know, they do it beautifully. That was not our case. With us, we were learning as we went. You know, we were trying to figure out what people liked. We knew that customer service was always going to be number one. I came from a fine dining background. I said, we got to treat people right. The difference between us and everybody else has to be that you walk in here and you feel at home. You know, you got real people that care about you and appreciate you coming in and spending your money with them. And that's going to be what's going to get us there. Now we got to make sure, hey, you know, we're trying something new. We're bringing a new flavor to Greenville, you know, and just, I mean, we prayed a lot, you know, we really did. We prayed a lot, and we force-fed people in the beginning. That was something to us. We could have been like, I'm from Miami, you know, who doesn't like Cuban food? There's Cuban food in every corner. I couldn't come up with that attitude. I had to come in and say, all right, these people have never had this food. So in that sense, we had to humble ourselves and realize we're somewhere else. Kind of change the way we presented the food to people was important. That initially we could have put out there, you know, Tropical Grill Cuban food. But that's something that we were like, nah, you know what, that's not a good idea, because we're going to put ourselves in a box. So let's be open-minded. Let's keep it to where, you know, we have a broad audience versus, you know, closing ourselves in a box and now only Spanish people are going to walk in, or somebody that knows Cuban food, or whatever the case, somebody from the islands. So that was something that we had to think a lot about and be strategic about. But force feeding people, I mean, honestly, I couldn't get anybody to try our beans in the beginning. You know, I'd push the Cuban chop because that's what I grew up eating. Yeah. So I wanted everybody to try our beans. Nah, I don't really like beans. I said, you don't understand, these beans are different. I'm like, nah, beans are beans, I don't think so. All right, tell you what, here, have your classic bowl, and I'm giving you the beans. I'll give you a side of beans on the house. And I mean, we did that for months. We would just give away. And then, you know, the beans now, I mean, we can't make enough beans, you know. So just being open-minded, you know?
Yeah, and I can attest to the staff, because I'll walk into a Tropical Grill and like someone will walk from the back like, what's up, man? And I was like, do I know him? I was like, I don't know if I do, but I'm saying hey too, because like you walk in and everyone's like, hey, good to see you. Come on in.
I think you know, I think there's an opportunity to set the tone. One thing that I do religiously, man, when I walk into any of my businesses, the first thing I do before I conduct any business, I go through, I give my guys a hug, I see how they're doing, how their day been, how their family. Then we can talk about business. First things first, how are you doing? How's your day been? You know, everything's good at home. just loving on people, and hopefully, even some of the people that when they initially start, they start off real guarded, they're all serious. You walk in, they might be a little nervous because you're the owner. It's like, man, we good. What's up? How are you?
Yeah.
We good? Oh, hey, okay. Hey, this guy's actually not a bad guy. I'm like, man, we're doing this together. We're in it together. I can't do this without you. So that attitude, eventually people just kind of relax, and then their personality comes out. Then they start to shine.
Yeah.
Taking that, because when you take over a whole new business, so Tipsy Taco wasn't yours. So are you taking that attitude and that thought process and trying to impart it into Tipsy Taco now?
Yeah.
And how's that? Do you feel like that's going to have the effect that you want there, or?
I think we're blessed when we bought Tipsy Taco. If you guys don't know Roger Carlton and Trish Ballantyne, these are people they took the same exact approach. So we came into that already. Roger's a guy that, just all his people loved. There was tears when these guys sold the company. There was tears from the staff because of how he treated them. So, I think going in, I wanted to make sure, and my partners, Tony and Brian, they wanted to make sure that, hey, listen, we're not here to change what you guys do. You guys do a phenomenal job. That's the reason we love this company. That's the reason we want it. We're just going to come in here and be no different. Once you guys get to know us, you'll realize that we're on the same team. And sure enough, in the beginning, like everything, people are, they're testing, feeling you out, trying to see what they're getting into, and we're just ourselves,
Yeah.
So, and it works out.
Coming up on the end here, what is your vision for the future as of right now? Because there's always two locations you put in the GPS, where you're at and where you're trying to go. Yeah. So we know where you're at now. What's the vision you're pushing for moving forward?
We still want to open a few more corporate stores for sure. Our ideal plan was always to tackle the 85 corridor, so from Atlanta to North Carolina, Charlotte, that market. We wanted to keep all that as corporate stores. It's easy, attainable, one that we can manage easily. And in the last year, we finally, after so many inquiries on franchising, we've had them for years. They've been after us to franchise. But there's a long process. You got to get all your paperwork in order. It's a lengthy, legal process that you have to go through. We finally completed all of that, and now we're going heavily on the franchise side. We're going to start doing it, in a responsible way. But the goal is to, I'll be happy when I don't know why, I feel like God put 132 stores in my heart, and then he told me that was just the beginning, but that's a number that I'm definitely pushing for.
Love
so, and again, it's not a business plan where I have it all set up. I just trust the Lord. He got it here. It's not mine. That's the way I've always seen it, and he made that clear from day one. We're a company that started, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but our first food purchase was on a food stamp card. I said I was unemployed. Wow. We were eating our food in Tropical Grill. We were literally, we swiped the food stamp card to purchase our first food. And that's where my kids were eating. That's where I was eating, because there was nothing else. My mom, my dad, my wife, my stepdad. And we were all there. And honestly, if we didn't sell our first order of food, our first little food stamp swipe, we were probably closed.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we had a plastic banner up on the wall. It said Tropical Grill, and it was a free banner that Pepsi gave us. You had failure written on the wall. And that's something that I tell people. Part of the music, people hear the music. Some people can say, they saw Chick-fil-A did the music. So they probably, it's just something I've heard. But if people knew our story and our struggle, they would believe when I tell them that the night before I opened those doors, I looked around and I said, wow, God, man, I'm unemployed. I'm on food stamps. But tomorrow, these doors are opening because of just who you are, okay? We found our equipment on the side of the road, weathered. Every dollar, every penny counted, everything counted. So we got our doors open, and
wait. You found your equipment?
Oh yeah. We found it New Cut Road. I'll never forget the place because I had to drive over there, and this guy, he retired. Wow. He closed a barbecue place, and he had all this stuff sitting outside in his front yard. And I'm like, how much for that? $300. All right. How much for that stove? $50. 3 compartment sink, $100. I'm like, man, all right. Like, I needed all this stuff. For everybody else, this was junk. But without that junk, Tropical Grill doesn't exist. Okay, so God gave me that lead. We get there, we buy all this thing, we put it in a U-Haul. We bring it in, and again, we had no more money. We were done. We didn't have $1 to advertise. Okay, that's not how our business plan was set up, believe me. But God had a purpose, He had a plan, and that's the reason why I'm able to look back in this journey and always say, not me, I'm not gonna pat myself in the back. It's all God, because I know that 90% of restaurants fail, and that's if you're well funded. We were not, you know. So going back to our first day, the night before I made the decision, I said, I'm putting on, you know, Christian music. I'm gonna dedicate this to you, Lord. And our first night, a couple, at the end of the night, I came out to check on them, see how everything was doing. I was like, the food was amazing. And the lady tells me, she says, unfortunately, I don't think you'll be open more than 6 months. Man, all right, yeah, I already got it. You know, bring it on, just pile it on. You know, it's been a year already, whatever, just bring it. You know, so she says, yeah, you know, with that music, there's no way you guys make it. So I said, all right, pause for a second. I said, okay.
That music.
That music, yeah. So I said, you know, I paused and I said, thank you. She said, what do you mean, thank you? I go, look, you just challenged my God. I know I can't lose, you know? So she smiled. She wasn't a mean lady, honestly. She smiled. She said, that's a good attitude to have about it. So as soon as I couldn't get her out of there quick enough, man. As soon as she walked down the door, I locked that door and I cranked that music up. And I tell you, I cleaned them floors, I cleaned the bathrooms, toilets, you name it. But I cleaned it and I had my own little worship session in there. And it was a beautiful opportunity for me to just thank God. And, you know, ever since then, $37 the first day. And then just little by little, He just kept bringing them in and bringing them in and bringing them in. Not $1 spent on advertisement, not $1. So that's God. So
there's probably a young man, entrepreneur, someone watching, maybe even a young woman. What would you want to tell them about their future, building that vision and pushing towards it?
Yeah, just don't do what I almost did. That's real important. You know, everybody has a journey written out, and in the perfect world, they have a perfect scenario. It doesn't always work out like that. Be prepared for a little bit of adversity, and just, you know, if you're a person of faith, just hang on to your faith. You know, just do the right thing. If you're not a person of faith, just go to work, put in the hard work, do the things that other people are not willing to do. Get out there and work harder than everybody else, and you'll give yourself a solid chance.
Absolutely. That's the best we could do. Laz, thanks so much, brother.
No, man. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate
Definitely
it.
a pleasure.
Hey,
Thank you. Definitely awesome to be here with you guys, man.
It's awesome to have you, man. And
sure.
the story is inspirational, man. And I hope you guys at home got a lot from this episode. You might have to play it a couple times to really pick up on all the nuggets that Laz dropped along the way. But when it comes to vision, you know, it's going to change along the way. You have to be malleable a little bit. You have to adjust with it. If you have a spouse, a partner, discuss your vision with them. Make sure they're on board. Make sure it's a united vision, and you're working towards the same thing, and having the faith within each other, having the faith within God. Because as much as we make the plans, we all know that God's going to roll it out the way that it's meant to be. And throughout everything, make sure you have that map from where you are right now to where you're trying to go, and keep pushing forward on and on to that next step. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Modern Man. And as always, go out there and be a modern man.